All right. Hey, everybody. It's the Dawn Patrol. This is our segment we call the Tom and Pete Show.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going over Airborne ASW. Tom has been nice enough to make a sheet specific to the IL-38. We're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to take it from the Soviet perspective. And as you can see, she's got 144 of the RGB1. That's the original. I think it's from the late 60s. Omnidirectional sonobuoys.
Yep.
Works on the
Probably.
MF band. Primarily, everything here is about a half mile passive range. They do have a few of the active RGB3s. These are all Gen 3s. Its passive range is very similar to the RGB1, but it has an active of 0.9. Obviously, we will not be dropping those into the sea until we. I don't even know if we will. I think at some point
No, as
we'll
as
vector in a helo probably.
as especially if you look at their notes, they can only transmit in active mode for 2 tactical turns, and then battery just
Oh
runs
yeah,
out.
right here.
they,
Interesting.
they can go in passive for uh what is it? How many hours? It can go in passive mode for
It's right here.
half an
The life
hour.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it can go for half an hour, but it can only transmit active for 2 tactical turns for 6 minutes. So they are obviously used at the end to localize when you have good idea where to drop them.
Just highlighting the headers a little bit so we can see them. All right, so that's good. So this is the Berkut radar, which is the IL-38's SS or surface search radar. It's a Gen 3. Let's
I
see. I
I
think
only placed we only need stealthy and very small, I believe, from what I remember. Sorry, I forgot to check that, but basically only one periscope or one antenna is stealthy contact or
right.
stealthy signature. And if you extend more than one antenna or snorkel and periscope, you get very small contact.
Go ahead and
So
put a note there for that. Yeah.
yeah, so but if we will go as we gone previously, submarine will probably only extend periscope for brief amounts of time, so it can be
At
detected up
best
to
or at
60.
worst, however you want to put it. This over here, the tabletop simulator. We're just using this for visual sake. This was the Norwegian fjord slash sound that we were depicting. This is obviously the jungles of Norway here, the
Yeah.
foggy jungles of Norway, as we know. They are.
Underwater jungles.
Yes, exactly.
They actually have pretty underwater jungles there.
Is that also where they have the ice hotel and stuff? No, I don't know if that. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if that's true. I know if you dive there in fjords, there are like jungles of seaweed there,
We're not going to depict that here.
literally.
But, all right. Okay, so just for the
But
audience sake, um, these grid, I've turned. I normally probably wouldn't have grids on, but I'm using the grids to kind of demark these are nautical miles. Okay. So we're pretty close, and we can make them closer. And we're probably going to need to make them closer. These NATO diesel subs. This was originally from a the war that never was book scenario. There was a huge Soviet amphibious operation that's kind of depicted back here. And it's a good. I think I had it originally in the scenario as about 20 nautical miles. Let's see, 40 nautical miles, whatever. It's way back yonder, and it would probably stay away until some of these forward forces, these ASW forces. Originally, this was actually depicted as a gunfire support group in the scenario and in the book. These ASW Airborne assets were not really strongly depicted in the story. The story's a little very top level World War III book. It's a very good book. Get it by Michael Palmer, 1995, circa. All right, that's my ad for the day. again, I did import. I replaced all these models with the actual Russian models. This is a Slava class cruiser. I think it was the Admiral. I don't know, Marshal Enough. I can't remember what it was, but
Marshal Ustinov.
yeah, it's Marshal Hula. Uh, I'll just. It's a cruiser. It's a Slava class cruiser. Let me just go ahead and make that.
The one that they have one less now.
So one American drone has a Slava class cruiser image on its side. All right, we can debate that later. All right, so here's a line of sonobuoys here. These omnidirectional RGB ones. I'm just throwing them out there for now. We're gonna move all this stuff around as we talk about things. How do you want to approach this? You want to approach this? Do you want to speak to these here? Can you speak to these ranges that we've
Yeah,
depicted
yeah.
here?
Maybe
What do you want
overall
me to?
situation. We kind of assumed that Soviets, by some stroke of luck or whatever, or Spetsnaz info, know where to look for a sub, or they heard it for a moment. They have a bearing. And this is large assumption because, as you can see, detecting sub in this water will be next to impossible probably.
Yeah.
And you will see why this aircraft has like 140 of sonobuoys, and there's actually a search loadout which has no weapons and I think 300 sonobuoys on board.
Yeah, which I think actually we probably should use, but we can depict it
Yeah,
either way or both. If we run
yeah.
out of
We
sun,
don't
then
we
we
don't
run
look
out.
into doctrine right now.
Yeah.
We just assume they were in the area and they will vectored on the sub.
Which sheet would you like me to have up for the audience? Would you want me to
First,
show
we
the
need
passive
passive
sonar?
sonar. Passive
Yeah.
sonar detection is what we need first. And do
Okay.
you want to? Oh, you said you will have only one ad. Do you mind putting Glenn's book? Glenn? Glenn? Glenn's book?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold on a second. I think I let me go find that real quick. That should be
Yeah,
on the.
because you have one more ad today
Yeah. Definitely. Well,
to
here,
push.
I have the book here with me. Let me see if I can just give me a second. Let me. I'll do it in StreamYard real quick.
Yeah, let's do one more ad plug.
All right.
Right,
Can you hear me
I can hear you.
now? Okay.
Not sure what you're doing, but
Trying to start the camera, but it's not allowing me to start the camera at this
okay.
point.
Yeah, I
All
get
right.
it.
Whatever. I
You
was going
want
to
to?
show the darn book, but all right.
Yeah.
It's Airborne Anti-Submarine Warfare by Michael E. Glenn. It's a recently released book. I think it was basically this year. I can't remember the exact. Let's see. It's by. Yeah, actually, it was released 2021. Michael E. Glenn by Pen and Sword Books out of the UK, out of
Yeah.
Barnsley, South Yorkshire. Um, Very good book. In particular of interest to what we're kind of going over here would be the chapters 12 through 15, which are search, localization, tracking, and attack. But the overall book has a lot of other good information in it. Goes through the history from World War One all the way through present. Has a good chapter on the weapons involved, the sensors involved, the oceanography involved, the propagation analysis, intelligence gathering and queuing, as well as crew resource management. So it's thorough, but very approachable. I think it's a very readable book
Yeah.
for for a more detailed review, I would look at Larry's review of the book in SITREP 63. So that's that. And we might refer to some of the diagrams in this book later as we mess around with some patterns to use. We might, I think, in particular, there's a nice circular localization pattern, which is figure 22 in his book. There is an interesting passive and active sensor areas of probability chart as well as figure 21, and there's a couple other things we can kind of look at here, but
The
we're not
whole
gonna.
methodology is
Yeah.
shown very well,
Yep.
and the chapter on sound propagation is very good intro into how propagation works and how it is exploited. Well,
All right. So what do you
exploited, used.
what type of pattern do you want me to set out, and where do you want me to set it out, and how far do you want me to set it out from this
No,
sub
you know
here?
what? First, before we set up pattern, we need to see what type of pattern, because this is greatly tied into the book, because first thing we need to do is, as per book also, we need to check the assumed range at which we will detect a submarine. And if you can look at the passive, if you can bring up the passive cheat
On the
sheet.
RGB. Oh,
No, not
okay.
really.
Yeah, I
No,
got it
but
right here.
because
Yep.
first thing we need to, as even the Glenn described in the book, the aircraft would assume some. First, it would put environment into equation, how
Hmm.
probable it is to detect submarine. Then they need to assume some submarine operation to see for what type of submarine and in what operation they look for. And having this information, we can see how spread the pattern need to be, how far from each other sonobuoys need to be.
Hmm.
So from what I remember, we in environment we don't have rain.
Correct. We don't have any
Can't
rain.
we don't have
We were
rain. We don't really have shipping traffic.
pretty,
The only thing we have is sea state, right? And
and
it
I
was
think
two.
we
Yeah,
were doing the original tutorial with a 2, I think, or a 3. I
yeah,
can't.
I think so too. I remember it like
So we
this
have
also.
no shipping traffic. We have no moderate rain or light rains. But as
No.
you can see, it's pretty significant. It's a
Yes,
significant
it is.
effect. So, and
Yeah,
this
I think he
area.
even mentioned it that rain creates light of ambient noise.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah, I think he uses that as AN, which also includes
yes,
um,
basically
biologic
everything.
biologic
Yeah,
activity,
biologic,
yeah,
shipping, anything that is background noise, basically.
which is actually a possible that could be even a possible house ruling, right? The level of
Right.
biologics. we might even
Yeah, it
start
can be.
factoring that in as if you want to get that particular. But
Yeah.
so we
Yeah,
have no.
I'm waiting for data annex about whales. and and marine life. And
and then
all
the
kind
mod
of marine
and then
life.
and then the 1945 mod B book that Larry will refer to for the great humpback. All right.
Yes.
We cannot have a uh, Dawn Patrol without
Yeah,
poking fun at Larry,
exactly.
of course. All right.
So yeah,
But
we are not under pack ice and we are not in marginal ice zone. I wrote it. Great. So
all right, so we
we are
really
not
are
here.
pretty much at zero.
Yes,
I mean,
we can write
ultimately.
0 as our environment.
All right. So boom. All right.
Now, shallow water was. We were in shallow water, right?
Definitely
We had
shallow
some
water. Yeah.
discussion about that. And here's the thing: we are in shallow water, and the modifier depends on the frequency band
We
the
are
sonar
MF.
operates on. And you can look at, but I already can tell you all sonobuoys use medium frequency
Yep.
that we have here.
All right. So let's go ahead and mark that for visual sake.
So it's
Yeah.
-2.
All right. But that's the only thing here too? Okay. So that's the only thing that affects this.
Yep.
All righty. All right.
Now, target noise signature. Let's say they have. Well, Soviets would know that the submarines operating there are. I
Very
believe this
quiet.
was quiet sub. Actually, the sub you sent me was
I think it's
quiet.
very.
No, no,
Yeah, watch that. I don't want to show it, but do you mind looking at what I sent you?
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Yep.
Type 209. We were using a German Type 209 to kind of as an aggregate of the
Yes.
naval submarines operated at the time.
For this
Diesel subs.
example, all we need is the signature, right? Because other stuff is irrelevant unless we will shot torpedo from it.
Well,
But
what
but for
about this? We're not.
submarine,
We're obviously not using the diesels, right? We should talk about all this other stuff, though. But right. Can you just
great.
look if it was the Type 209 was
I'm
quiet
trying
or
to find it, but I can't remember when you sent it to me. So I
It
actually
was
you
probably
sent
just a
it?
day or two ago.
Yeah, exactly. And still,
So it was you
I have
directly.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, class 209, quiet. It's quiet sub.
Okay. Some
Actually,
people
yeah,
call it quiet.
I thought also, but no,
All right.
it's just quiet.
All right. So that's that. So that's 0 here.
Yep, but here, I bet, and now it depends if Soviets think that it will be diesel operating,
Likely not. Right.
I don't know. It depends on intelligence they have.
Well,
They know
okay.
against what they go, right? Or
Um,
no?
based on the original scenario, based on the war that never was scenario that we originally were
Hmm.
kind of like playing with, they were cued. They knew that a Soviet amphibious operation, which again was depicted by this
No,
ball.
I'm talking about the Soviets knowing what type of
Oh,
submarine they can encounter in this water.
well, they know. They definitely know that there are at least 6 diesel submarines operating
Yeah,
in the
because
area.
here's the thing. Next thing is signature modifier, and now the question is, do they assume that? I would guess they assume that the diesel submarines in the area
Are
would
running
operate
electric.
in ultra quiet mode, right? Because next you have signature modifier,
Correct.
the red one. Oh, for ultra quiet conventional sub, it is -2. So the question is, do
And
they would probably
I
assume the
think they would
subs would
assume it.
lay?
I think
Yeah,
they would assume
exactly.
it. Yeah. Now we can go ahead and mark it, but what is the actual definition? Max speed. Max speed.
Max
3
speed 3
knots.
knots.
Use a different color because we're
But
on a
it's basically assuming they would lay in wait, right? So, and probably they would assume for searching operation, they would assume the worst case scenario they can encounter, right? Maybe.
right.
That depends probably on the doctrine.
They have a reasonable. They have a reasonable intelligence level that the Soviet operation is either going to be coming into this bay or further north. So they're
Yeah, but
playing. I mean, go ahead.
no, they would lay in wait, right? They would probably not
Yeah,
move at
and what
speeds
we,
above these
they would
3 knots.
probably be waiting here. They would probably be
Yeah,
waiting at the front of this bay, knowing that I think if we look at the bathymetric information, I think there's a channel that goes like this. So
yes, it's
there,
something like that.
the assumption is that the Soviets would be aware of this, and especially for this large of a
Yeah.
heavy or larger
Yeah, so they would
transports.
be aware of some basic doctrine and
I think there's
operation of subs.
reasonable. I think there's reasonable queuing for these diesel subs to know that they're going to probably channel through here. Something is going to, whether it's what they
Yep.
wanted to hit or not.
Yeah,
And
but
then
they
vice versa.
initially they would lay in wait or move at 3 knots to maximize
Hmm.
their stealth.
Hmm.
So the Soviets would assume that they are in quiet and give -2 to the modifier. So if you go back to the
Yep.
passive detection, we'll see what the significance is. So -2 in here. Mm. Next is submarine speed. Well, 0, because between 0 and 8, because if they lay in wait, they would not
Yep.
move faster than 8. And for sonobuoys, the searcher speed is 0 for sonobuoys for reasons obvious. Yep. So contact speed is between 0 and 8 because we assume submarine moving quietly, and sonobuoy speed is 0 always for the noise.
Okay.
And now for the layer, there were there is a lot of discussion about the layer. The question is what type of layer, where the layer is, where we have layer. Is it? I can't remember
That would
what
be
environment
shallow, I
we had.
think.
I believe the shallow,
Uh,
yeah. So shallow layer between shallow and surface. Um,
and there was a question. The only thing that we questioned was whether or not there would be one at all, right? Just
right,
based
yeah,
on the
and
overall nature.
yeah, I can't remember because first I don't know if layers are created in every depth of water. I think they are. This is something reading the book. I believe uh, there is always some layer present, and reading
Okay,
the book,
we'll assume it is. We'll assume it exists. It's there and it's
yeah,
shallow.
and this will ruin the day for
Mm-hmm.
for Soviets because. Oh, can you bring? Oh no, you know what? I will check one thing, because now there is a question.
You want to bring up the IL-38 data thing?
No, you know what? I will check it. Oh, okay. So RGB1 can be dropped to
At most in inch
intermediate
one,
depth. It can go to intermediate depth
one
1.
is its maximum. Okay.
So it can be placed below the layer because now, and what you can read in the book, as you can see, depending on where the sensor is and where the target is, then can be wide range of modifiers, meaning
All
there
right.
can
So let's
be
look at
very
that. Right. So you're saying
right.
then the difference would be where we're setting the sonobuoys at. And okay, so here's my first question then.
Yes.
Would the IL-38 the airborne acoustic engineer would they put it at a varied depth, or would they
That's
put
a
them
good
all at
question. Probably depending on tactics and doctrine,
okay?
and because for the from the standpoint of rules in Harpoon, I think if you want the field to act as a field, all sonobuoys need to be placed at the same depth if they are.
All right, that's a good point then, right? So what would you guess? What would the cued guess be due based on the intelligence that the Soviets would have? The
Yeah,
Soviets
that's a good
know.
question because this sub would operate if the layer is shallow, and I believe for this environment
Yeah,
it is the proper one. I
we
can't
had
remember
done that. We had
how
depicted
it
it
is
as such.
created. Maybe
Right, so
deep.
we know
I need
this.
to. Yes.
So we can discount all this crap. All right, so sonar's affected. Does there is there anything with this? Is there anything we need to take into account based on the fact that they're MF omnidirectional in this regards right here?
Uh, in
You can't
this
really.
regard, yeah, but basically this is MF, so every layer will affect this
Right, so the only one that doesn't,
sonobuoy.
the only one that
No,
has a
look, because
difference is VLF, right?
yes, and
What
only if there is a
okay,
deep placed
layer.
layer. So
Hmm.
if our layer is shallow, we do not look even at the moderate and deep column. We only
Okay,
look at the shallow column. And because we have more medium frequency sonobuoys, layer do affect the detection. And the problem now is where this submarine will operate, because if we set if we look, the upper portion is if we place the sonobuoy above layer, and the lower portion is if we place sonobuoy below layer.
I
And if we
honestly can't remember. I can't remember what depth we they were operating at totally. I mean, I
yeah,
think at
and
most
I don't remember also,
I
but when they will go to periscope depth, because if you look at the
probably
sonobuoy
not
placed, probably
unless
not for good
they were
portion of
about to
time, right?
fire,
Yeah,
unless they wanted to do some sort of last second determination to make sure it wasn't a friendly or something, right? I don't
right.
know, right? Whether they
It
were
depends on if they go to periscope depth. It depends on how good TMA they can make, and if they have guided torpedoes. If they have
if
guided torpedoes, they probably won't go to periscope depth at all, unless they want to mm,
if I
mislead
recall
the
correctly,
aircraft.
if I recall correctly from the original tutorial we did, we had simulated this diesel coming within enough of a distance to classify this as a Soviet surface warship. I can't remember if we had
Yeah.
it down to the class or not, but I remember I think we had a reasonable detection from the sub.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't think that it would go to periscope.
no, it
So
probably
let's go ahead and
wouldn't, especially if you look, because look, if they want to avoid surface ships, they really want to be below layer, because look at
I
the
would say so.
modifiers. Look at if you look at the modifiers when the sonar is above layer. If you are at surface or periscope depth, you get this. This is -5. The upper one is if the sonar is here is a table if the sonar looking for submarine is above layer.
I'm
And if
assuming that
this
we'll probably plop all these down in intermediate one, right?
they actually probably they might go in shallow. I don't
You think
see
just to cut the difference, you think? Yeah, you think because
no if the sonar is above layer, they have -5 modifier if the sub is below layer. But if they are below layer, they have the same problem with finding the
I think that they
surface
would
ships.
assume that the submarine is
They would
operating below
probably
the layer.
operate little below, little above layer, the submarine. They would go below layer to hide and pop above to scout for the submarine for surface ships, because they have the same problem with finding surface ships when they are below layer as the surface ship has the problem of finding them.
I just think
Mm,
that they would probably avoid the hell out of that, knowing that there is a surface
yeah.
operation in the area.
Yeah,
I
but
don't think that they would do
their
that.
job is to find and sink it, I
Yeah,
believe.
sure. But as soon as they pop up, they know that this guy's going to get a sonar on him, or excuse me, a radar
Yeah,
on him too.
might be.
More than
Yeah,
likely.
but they can be at the periscope depth and not extend the
Oh, okay.
antennas above, right? So let's assume, let's say they assume that the sub is operating below layer at shallow or intermediate even. So the worst case scenario is then if they send the sonobuoys below layer at shallow or intermediate depth, uh, then the worst case modifier is -3, as you can see, because if
Right.
the
So let's
sonobuoy
just
is
go.
below layer,
That seems like a reasonable
yeah,
compromise, right? So
yes,
we're gonna place the omnidirectional RGB1 sonobuoys at shallow. You're saying,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, I guess, or intermediate. Wait, if the sonobuoy, no, they will place it at shallow or intermediate one. It doesn't really matter. It just matters if it is below layer or not.
Well, it
But
does. Doesn't it matter?
it matters if the sub is at the shallow.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. The contact depth. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just gonna put it there. It's gonna be here or here. All right.
Yeah.
So based on where the sub is at.
Here
Okay.
or here, or if they go up, it can be even -5. But let's assume, and
All
we'll
right.
get to one thing I forgot totally to ask Larry and Chris. When we go to the sonobuoy pattern. So just punch it in to see what will happen. Let's
All right.
punch
So we're gonna
-3 for
use.
now.
All right.
Let's
We're gonna use
punch
shallow.
-3. Mhm.
All right. So okay. So
So
we're
the
saying that the
total,
guy's operating at shallow. Okay. So we're
yeah,
at
let's say he's
neg
operating
3,
at shallow,
neg
right?
5, neg 7. So neg 7 and no other modifiers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And that gets us down to really horrible.
Really, that's yes, exactly. Really horrible situation. So we have we now we don't have what submarine will do, but this is what crew assumes the submarine will do and how this will affect how they need to place their how dense their sonobuoy field need to be to effectively look for submarine in this
So
situation.
does this then become our guide for your other visual here?
Yep. Yes, because here, if you want to create effective sonobuoy search pattern, because we have three or two, no, three. We have three search patterns where oh sorry, we have two broad patterns: search pattern, which is for looking for submarine, and localization pattern, which is basically done to refine the
Hmm.
position and solution to attack. Because with search pattern, the best you can do is poor solution.
And
Uh,
okay, can you just describe that in relationship back to the book, to Michael Gwynn's book? Why? Okay, so you're trying to get ahead of them. You're trying to use at least three
it's
because why
it's
is
it's
that effective?
basic it's basically according to the book and well physics,
Right.
it's all to due to the bearing inaccuracies and errors. When you find submarine, especially at longer range with passive sonobuoys, you get bearing errors. You do not know exactly what the exact bearing is. You just know that the bearing will have an error of few degrees left or right. And although it's good for finding where submarine is, it is not enough to pinpoint it accurately enough to attack it.
Hmm.
You get very broad area of uncertainty, or what they called it something, right? Area of
Hmm.
something. You don't get exact position, you just get the area where submarine is, and you need to have at least few sonobuoys to even detect it.
Oh, another thing
So
to point out. Another thing to point out is that this little note you made here. Oop, oh, didn't mean to do that. That it transmits in the detection phase one tactical turn after the drop. Something to keep in mind as well.
yeah, but
Yeah.
here it probably won't, the one turn left or
Yeah.
right probably won't make a difference in our situation. But basically the search pattern is a broad pattern which will tell you that sub is there and it is in some area. But this area is so large that the best you can do is have poor TMA solution. So you will only be able to attack it successfully on the roll from
So
1 to
how?
3.
So what you have written here, though, it doesn't really make much sense to add four or five or six, right? I mean, there's no.
No, because here's the thing. First of all, if you want to have what the pattern gives you is, as you can see here, the pattern gives you plus 15% to the detection, but also the pattern works as a single detection, single detection, like single sensor, and the larger the line you make, the better coverage of area you have. So you can even spread them probably in a box. What I believe Soviets did, they placed them in a box, and the more sonobuoys you launch, the larger area you cover. Because
And
it's
you're
not that
saying
you
that
place line, it's not that you place the line and it acts as point sensor. You can place them in a line, and this line, if the submarine is
you're
anywhere
saying
near
that they
this
would,
line,
that they would actually do this, and then
yeah, pretty
all right,
much, yeah, on the in the possible wake, well, not wake, on the possible track of a sub. And if they don't have exact track, they probably create a box. Yeah, something like that, but with lines next to each other probably, and you can place them inside this box also. This is if you don't know where the sub is. This is, I believe, what
more like that. That
if
you
you
mean?
if you look, yeah, something like that. If you look into the book, if you read the
Right.
book, there is no pattern like this. But I believe he doesn't mention any pattern like this because he wrote the book from the US perspective and NATO perspective,
Mm.
meaning they have SOSAs and they have enough queuing to set just lines in front of the subs, and Soviet subs also had fairly obvious choke points like the Gyug gap. Soviets, I believe, placed these carpets of sonobuoys just because the Il-38 basically was used to cover shores of Soviet shores near
Okay.
their ports.
Here's my next question. How far apart
Yeah.
would you do
So
that?
now, yeah, since we created the calculation, we have the modifier because how far apart we place them depends on the target we search for. And we assumed the target we search for is diesel sub in environment we mentioned, operating quietly. So now we modify the base 50% range of the Sonobui, which is, let me look at it, which is RGB1 is 0.4.
4. So we're going to do 0.2 of the 0.4.
Yep.
Wow.
It's 0.08. And this is my problem a little, and I don't know if it is a problem with the rules or is it true over real life. Because now if you look at the yep, if you look at my cheat sheet I created for search patterns,
The one we were looking at.
yeah, this one. So now to create effective Sonobui search pattern in this situation, we need to place at least 3 Sonobuis or more if you want to have larger line or field, and they need to be spread 1.5 times modified 50% detection range, which is 0.12 nautical mile.
So 0.12.
0.12.
Literally about that far apart. Right?
Yep.
Holy
Yep.
hell.
It's times
So
2,000 yards. It's 200. They need to be spread 240 yards from each other, which sucks, and probably why they have 150 of them in the low. And this is the lowest amount they take. How large? Wait, how large a line you can create with it? Actually, that is something I didn't check. So we have 0.12
times 100. But we're not going to use them all, though, right? We're probably
yeah. So times 100 is we can create 12 nautical mile line from with them to search for a sub in this situation, because if sub was louder, or the detection environment wouldn't be so abysmal, we could spread them farther apart, but we can't.
I messed up my toys.
One thing that the rulebook doesn't mention, and I remember I thought about that and forgot to ask Larry and Chris, is what do you do? Because you create line for a specific situation, and line works perfectly for a specific situation, or I guess situation that is better. I don't know actually what happens when the situation you used your line for is not met. I mean, if we assume, let's say, loud nuclear submarine, and it hits this line that is not, and the diesel sub hits this line that is spread too far apart. I don't know if you only lose plus 15% modifier, or do you just, do you just use single sonobuoys to detect them and you count them separately? That is something I need to ask Larry and Chris.
Hey, do you remember the grouping command in here?
I don't think it's here. You need to. It's under right click, I believe. If you selected both of them.
I have them all.
And
I just can't remember how to group the darn things.
Give me a second. Just entertain folks for a moment.
Group is G.
Oh, just G.
Yeah, oh, that makes sense. Lovely.
Yeah, I remembered it was like Shift G or Control G. I thought it is something like that. Okay, you have them?
Yeah, but for some reason it didn't do it. I want to put this on here so I don't have to.
Yeah, I know. You want to.
I want to play with my toys, man. Ah, for friggin', this is what I didn't want to have to do.
Ah. You did it? You grouped them?
Not.
Mm,
Doesn't make any sense because I did the whole thing. And I'm hitting
I
G.
know. There is join tool. You need to join them, apparently. Yeah, I believe you need to take join tool. It's the one with the chain.
Combine
Attach, I believe. And you need to attach. What do you want attached to what? You.
all these together.
Damn it. I
I
think
don't
you
know.
need to do it separately.
Oh, for bloody hell. All right, whatever. How about I just do that then? All right.
Yeah, just
All right. So I came over
let
here
it
and
be.
I squirted out 100 of these.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
mean,
they
it's just
they now work basically like yeah, like a single sensor. So you basically when you
if he comes
check
anywhere within
when you check for detection, you check the distance from the sub to the nearest point of the line.
how close does he
Because
even need to be at this point?
for 50, sorry, not 50, for 10% detection chance, that will be
Not like that. But I mean, I'm saying 50%. Let's just say 50%. Gonna be
50%.
is
50%
still
detection
about
is
that, right? It's
basically what's
0.12, right?
yeah, 0.12. Yes.
So he needs to get for a 50% chance, he needs to get at least 0.12 nautical miles from this line,
Yeah,
which
but
is
he can hit
which
this line.
is yeah, he will if you know roughly where he's operating and you put enough down, you're gonna get him.
Yeah.
At least an indication that he's. But here's the other factor here. He can only monitor 40 of them at any one time. Correct.
Yes. Yes,
All
exactly.
right.
Which is
So at
just
best,
switching.
you should only put 40 down here. Really, ultimately, that's kind of your visual. So I don't know how many we got here.
It actually he can, from what I see, he can, sorry, total channels is 40, but search channels are only 24.
Okay,
And
so
here's the thing, how
he's not
the
going to get it unless
likelihood,
he's.
yes, but likelihood of detection, let's assume the sub is moving at 3 knots. How
Uh-huh,
long it will span the range of detection, right? If it
uh-huh.
goes totally perpendicular and stays inside the detection range uh, as short as possible, the detection range at which it's 15% is, well, 1 mile. So yeah, so it absolutely will move through the field in one tactical turn, I believe, because if it's 1 mile,
If
oh no, sorry, no, it will stay there 2 turns because the range from which detection is possible at 15% is 1 mile. So it's 1 mile both ways, um, from and out of. I mean, it's a circle. You know what I mean. If
right,
they hit it perpendicularly,
right, exactly.
there is
Well,
two
that's the problem
mile
too, right? So
spread.
in other words, they have to have
At
they
3 knots, they move 300. Oh no, sorry, they will stay longer because at
was
three
300
knots, if
yards
as
per
assuming they would move, yes, it's 300 yards per tactical turn, which
about like that.
is divided by 2000. It's 0.15 nautical miles.
So
So
it's like more like it's about
no, they will stay there.
yeah.
They
It'll
will
be
stay there
very
for
slow.
13 turns. So they will, yeah, they will
Yeah, it's
move if they move slowly.
pretty slow, like about like that every tactical turn.
Yeah,
It's pretty slow.
so and 24 divided by, so the beagle, that was the name.
Hmm.
No, sorry, it's il 28. What was the
This is
NATO name
a
of
May.
May? So if May will switch, if we assume the line of 100 sonobuoys, they can check 1/4 of the line each turn, right?
Right,
They can
right.
switch, so every
So
four
I'd almost
turns.
recommend, like, let's say you had 24. I'd almost recommend something like this. I mean, it's either how. And then here's my other question. Then, what is the how far is the line of sight here? So in other words,
No, line of sight is 40 miles,
so
or it's. I remember that it's either 40 miles or radar horizon. But if the aircraft goes high enough, they can see 40 miles
right, but
around.
again,
They can monitor 40 miles
they can
around.
only monitor 24
It's
of
not.
these at a time.
Yep. Yes.
Still a relatively reasonable chance if they have.
No, yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought
not
it will.
reasonable,
I thought
but
it
if
will be worse.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, and remember, take into account also.
I mean, you could even do
Uh,
like you could even do something like
no,
this.
take also into account that the line gives you plus 15% chance to detect submarines. So your lowest possible chance is 30%. Actually.
So it's almost like you would. I mean, I don't know. You could probably vary this depending on whatever the queuing information. You'd really have to do it based on whatever queuing information you had. If you
Exactly.
kind
And
of knew there was a
that's what.
channel,
Yeah, but
right?
that's what, if you remember what Glenn wrote in the book, that without queuing, finding submarines is next to impossible. You need to have some
Right.
queuing to know where to look with
There's
your
a certain
air
point here
assets.
though. If we had 3 lines of 24, and we knew that this was the channel. Give me 1 second. If we know that the basic channel here is like this, which we do, we have that bathymetric information. We
Yeah.
know that they're probably lying outside of this in
Yeah,
pretty
so
shallow
this is
water here.
so now what would really play a part is how well the Soviets know the enemy's doctrine and their behavior.
Yeah, and the
which
environment,
which
and
which is mentioned in the book, that checking the behavior and doctrine is the whole science.
I freaking hate these invisible blocks, y'all. Sorry, it's
No,
really bothering me.
there. When will I have time? I will do them nicely.
Yeah,
Once I have time for it,
this is half the
maybe.
fun though, so we can make everybody watch me do this. All
Yeah,
right.
when
Yeah. So
playing with
playing with toys. All
Legos.
right. Yeah. Harpoon style. So I think,
Yeah.
but let's kind of in. What the heck happened there? Oh wow! Look at
Uh,
that.
the channel
I
goes
don't
up.
know what the hell
Great.
happened there. The channel went, and I don't know what the
It's
hell.
you probably can only draw on the map. I didn't
It,
know you can draw in the
no, no,
air,
no.
but
It's the damn table. It's
but
this
yeah,
fixed
it's
table.
on table. What I mentioned is you cannot draw outside of table. I didn't know you can draw in the air next to the table, but good to know. Yeah, maybe will be useful one day. Okay, so this is the search pattern. So this is the pattern at which you can find target and maybe get poor solution. And if you look at, yeah, will we create situation where actually sub hits the line? Yeah, play some more.
Hold on,
Yeah,
I'm
move
playing
it,
with my
move it,
toys here. Come on,
move it
give me
around
some
more.
time. All right.
No, if you look at the, if you can bring up the
Also, you have
mm,
both of the subs, but that's another thing. Hold on. Another thing to kind of point out here is that these subs need to avoid each other as well, in some regards too, right? Because
yeah,
obviously
probably.
they don't want to fire on each other. So,
No, and here's the thing that is not only mentioned in book. I first seen in Harpoon 3 on computer. They would have the confliction zones. They would have zones where to move, and where they probably would be told that any sub in this zone is considered hostile, or
so
ignore
let's also
subs in
think.
this zone.
Yeah.
Maybe
So,
this.
what is the operate? What is the tactical range though of the for solution's sake of these? How close do these subs really need to get in order to get a solution themselves? Too. That's another consideration, right?
Yeah,
You got to
we
look at it
did it last time, right? They actually
right, and it was
created solution pretty well from a long distance,
from
longer
about
than their torpedoes are.
yes.
But mostly because
These guys
Soviets
are
gone.
these guys were kind of going
These
for it,
guys
right?
were steaming 30
Yes,
knots or something and were very easy to pick up.
yes.
They were
So, but they
cavitating
weren't.
like
Again,
crazy.
another thing to another thing to kind of highlight was the fact what their mission was, right? I mean, they needed to get
Right.
somewhere quick, and they needed to start laying down gunfire support. So these guys weren't really originally intended for ASW operations. As a matter of fact,
Oh,
some of
they
the
will even. I know it's from the book from 1985,
yeah,
but they are so ill suited to the task of ASW.
yes, I think what you'll see is that the amphibious convoy, if you will, had Cresta 1 and Cresta 2s with it, and those were a little bit more suited towards it. But
Yeah. Yep.
have we touched upon most everything? Did we give a good illustration how? So can we summarize then though how close again these guys need to get about 0.12 nautical miles from any one of these
Yeah,
sensors,
one.
correct?
You know what my neat little app says is that at zero point 0.9 nautical mile from the. Oh, sorry, no,
You mean
that's
your little
wrong. The base
here?
range. What's the base range? 0.4.
Yeah,
They need to get. Oh, it doesn't
point one
matter.
two,
Okay,
right here.
they need to go. No, 0.12 is the distance you spread sonobuoys around.
Uh,
They
they
need to get below.
they
They need to get 0.9 to be detected with any chance.
wait. Can you
Uh,
explain that again? Then I don't understand that because
okay,
no, but
so
no,
you have.
for a 50% chance, it's this one, isn't it? Or is it
Mm,
this one? I thought it was this
no,
one.
no. The modified 50% chance is 0.08.
Yeah.
The
All right.
0.12 is only the distance you place sonobuoys next to
In
each
order to
other.
get the plus 15.
Yes, in
In
order
order
to
to
get plus
yeah. Okay.
15.
So right
And
here, so they need to get within point oh 0.08 to get a 50%. Oh wait, to get actually
no,
a
you know what?
75%.
Actually, looking at table, it's at 0.9. From what I see, they get. Oh wait,
All right,
yeah,
let's
you
just
know
do it.
what? It doesn't even. I think it doesn't matter below some range. Let me check
All right.
the sonar table, because I think the sonar table does not get. Yeah. Um. Below some range, it is irrelevant because the sonar detection table, sonar range probability doesn't go below 0.5.
All
Uh,
right. So, but still, they need to get about that close right there.
they need to get 1 mile from a line to be detected with uh, basically 30%,
All right.
and
All right.
only because line gives you plus 15.
Right. Okay. Okay. Oh. Mm. Okay. You
Yeah.
just lost me again. All right. So it that modified. Let's go back to the sheet because this is confusing me and it's
Okay.
probably confusing other people a little bit. I'm the everyman
Yeah,
apparently. All right.
probably
So
maybe.
all right. So this is the range modifier, and that range modifier gets you to a 0.8, and that's still for 50%. Are you
Yes.
saying that at 0.08 it would be 75% chance because you get a plus 15 for these guys being within
Yeah,
1.5
basically,
or 1.2 or 0.12?
you
If these
know,
guys,
here's the thing. No, you know what? Here's the thing. Can you bring rule book up? Because
well, I
this
kind of
is
want to
table.
avoid that.
Yeah, I know.
I
You
can
need
get it
only.
on another.
You need to, okay, because okay, everyone who has a rule book can look at page 50 of it.
All right,
There is sonar range and probability table, right? You remember
right,
this large
yeah,
table where you have chance depending
right.
on the
But
distance from the sonar. This table does not get below 0.5 nautical miles.
oh, and we're at 0.08.
So basically, if you have if you have base 50% detection range below 0.5, you always use 0.5 because table does not go below
Okay,
it.
all right, that's fine. All right, that's fine
And
from a
yeah, because
percentage.
who will you know who will go below and
But that's the
move
thing.
check
We needed.
range in 10
Okay, so hold on.
yards
Let's go back to the
increments.
original thing I'm asking is that you would add 15% to this, correct? Because of that, because we position
Yes,
them
yes,
within
you get
1.5.
15%. Yes, but if you look at the table which I am looking at, the sonar range probability table, if you have, as I said, we have 0.0, 8, but I
0.08.
realized table does not get, you do not go below 0.5 nautical mile 50% detection range because you would probably be unable to play this game on a table, right?
Right,
if,
but
if you
this is
track,
still the figure. This right here is still the computation,
yes,
correct? And that's how
correct.
close it has to be detected. But in our case, it would be a 75% chance, correct?
Yeah, basically,
Because it's
let's go
corrected.
with it. Yeah, but
Well, no, I
without
mean,
looking at, without bringing up rule book,
why do
we
we need to
cannot
bring it
really
up?
explain.
Because this isn't that isn't.
Wait, I will send something to you in private. Uh, mm,
It doesn't the pattern give us 15% better chance, correct?
yes,
Okay, and we did the original detection range was I can't even remember what the heck it was, but we did point
oh,
2 of it and we got 0.08, right?
yes.
So that
Hmm.
computation's still even if the chart doesn't show it,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
you
range
know
they
what?
have to be,
Now,
right?
now I wonder how it works because I cannot remember how rulebook describes it. But if you can look at Discord really quick, or I think it's something you can show people that shouldn't.
All right, all right. We're just gonna have
Yeah,
to do it.
sorry for the trouble. I'm showing something that shouldn't compromise, rules.
Yeah,
Oh,
whatever. It's
if you
just
look
a
at
small
this,
amount.
this is just free. This is the lowest you get on detection, and if you have detection, I don't know if there is a way to handle lesser detections than half a mile, 50%.
Well, the original one was point 0.4, right?
Yeah.
The original
Oh, right.
weighted
Oh,
passage
yeah.
was point 0.4.
Oh, wow. So why even?
Well,
Yes,
that's what I'm
you're
saying.
right.
It,
You're absolutely correct.
right.
Oh my.
So what are we at?
Okay.
What are we telling everybody? How
Yeah,
close do they
let's
need
say
to be?
they need to get around 1 mile from the
I think
Sonobui
within one
line to be
mile
detected with,
at a
or
what percent?
half a mile. If they move half a mile from the Sonobui line, they are 75% detection chance, I guess.
So the point two of the point
This is no,
two.
this is something that Larry, prepare yourself.
Oh, you're
Question
right.
going your way. Email,
All right.
email going today.
All right. We'll get some more clarity on that, and we'll post it as a reply to the YouTube. All right. But they need to get pretty damn
Right.
close. But at least they only need to get close within a pretty reasonable
They
about
need to get close to the line in
within a
something
12
like
nautical
one
mile
nautical
width.
mile, something like
Yeah.
1 nautical mile to be detected. Yeah.
And what we were determining before was that um, at most this May, this IL-38 can only monitor about 24 at a time. Now you could
Yep.
make this one line long if you really wanted
Well,
to, or you could place, as we were saying before, you could do diagonally. I mean, you could do certain other patterns where
yeah, you can any shape you want,
it
pretty
really
much.
depends on the queuing, and
Yep.
what we're assuming is that our submarine what we're assuming is that the submarine commanders are assuming that the Soviets are going to go through the channel. So in which
Yep.
case they would probably get within this area and need to go here to attack. So I think it's a reasonable pattern. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anybody
that's
different? If any has a
tactics used. We need to play it. We need to create scenario like this. Don't tell anyone what's going on. I mean, with double blind where submarines will be placed without the knowledge of the ASW force and see what happens.
well, right, but I mean, the only thing we're doing this for illustration, but we're also showing that you kind of need to know some. You need to know
Yeah,
some sort of channeling. You need to have some sort of queuing. Either somebody on this
yeah, and
shoreline
that's
saw it, or and it needs to
yep,
be
and
timely.
that's the point actually. You know
Yeah.
what was written in the book that without queuing you cannot perform this at all. Pretty much,
Mhm.
you need to have any sort of queuing beforehand to know where to drop sonobuoys because
In some way,
you cannot look on your own in the
or you
body of
could and
water.
get lucky, and that's it.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. That's it. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you wanted to kind of highlight here before we drop?
Here, not really, but if you look at the detection, because not only for detection, if you look at the SW cheat sheet. Oh, here, yeah,
Yeah.
because so here we have, let's say it's detected at 75%, right? Let's assume they are
Yeah,
in this
we've detected it.
50%
We've
range.
detected it.
Yeah, but if you look at the D100 roll, if you roll above basic detection, you have no contact. If you roll below basic detection, you have contact, and below basic detection divided by 2, which in our case is something around 37, something
Yeah,
like that, right?
yeah.
You get poor solution, and you can try to scare them, because if you look to the right from this box, you will see that poor solution gives you
A 30% chance
yeah,
of doing it.
30% chance to effectively attack the sub. And in case of submarines, it is very easy. When you attack, you just drop.
Where do you? You can write the answer to this, but where was this mentioned in the rule book? Can you just take a note of making? Can you take a note of adding that as a comment later? Because
Yeah.
I don't remember where this was described. That's just me,
Mm,
maybe, but I
I
don't remember.
can drop it on
I
you
don't
in chat
remember
in
the
a second.
search. I don't remember the search portion being able to even do this. I just don't. I don't remember mentioning of it. I thought you had. I thought you had to do localization, and you had to have some
Nope.
sort of either
No.
mad or active. You at least had to
Now
have a
you
mad
need
or
only to draw roll below, and that's it. And
okay.
I will find it for you in a moment.
So going here, you just know it's there. You cannot. You don't have the ability to start a target
You cannot
acquisition.
have better solution with this pattern than poor solution. You cannot do anything better. And as I said, this is because of
Okay.
the at least reading the Glenn's book. This is the main reason is
And
inaccuracy
is
of
this
sonobuoys
are
bearing.
we completely positive? Are we entirely positive that that is the optimal in order to be able to do this? So you have to have at least a minimum of 9 in within that range.
Yep.
Is this accuracy? Okay.
Yes, this works exactly the same. So you need to create some pattern with directional. So oh, sorry,
So
it
you need
depends
at
if you
least
have
3
omna. Yeah,
minimal.
if 3
Oh,
to
I'm sorry.
5 if you have directional
Okay,
sonobuoys, if you
perfect,
have
perfect, perfect.
omnidirectional, you need to have 9 to
At
12.
least 9,
At least
roughly
9,
9 to 12.
yes. If you have directional, you need to have 3 and drop them so they can detect sub. And drop them, as you can see, for directional it is 0.75 modified 50% range. And
Yep.
with this, you best you can do is fair solution. Now, here's the thing: you can get better solution, I believe, with active sonobuoys.
Yes.
The reason there is no box here is because there is no pattern described in the rulebook, I believe. And actually, I'm looking on it. It says that you can get good. Uh, Yeah, because the problem is the rulebook doesn't mention what is the minimum number of sonobuoys you need to drop to localize with active sonobuoys.
Hmm.
It's only that it's basically a line 1.5 times 50% detection range, but I didn't include this box, and this
Well,
cheat sheet
maybe
is.
we can ask about it just to be sure too.
Yeah, I asked because I'm looking at the rule book right now, and the box for active sonobuoys is not present. This cheat sheet is not released yet because there is not. It's only said that the pattern is often just a single line dropped at the operator's best guess,
Yep.
and that's it. For rest of the patterns, there is minimum number
Yeah.
or number of sonobuoys, and for active, it is lacking. So I don't know how
Okay. Well,
large.
we can try to get an answer on that. That's fine.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep,
All right.
that was
All
one
right,
of my
everybody.
questions.
That was good. I think that went
Yeah.
well. If there are any resulting open questions, and there might be, of course, we had a couple things we were questioning ourselves. But if you have any open questions about it, you can reply to this YouTube video, or you can ask in the room that we did for the war that never was in the Discord H5 server, multiplayer server. So, but at that point, we will sign off for now. I'm sure we'll do more of these in the future, and maybe in a little bit more of a double blind small scenario like Tom was just hinting at, just so we can kind of see it in action a little bit, see if it actually works, see if the theories actually work, right? All right. Very good, Tom. Thank you
Yeah,
for taking part.
my pleasure.